What up, what up? It's your homegirl Peek out here in Singapore, jumping on again. It's about 8:30-ish on a Tuesday evening. I'm interested to hear your feedback on this one, honestly, because this is something you hear people say all the time, right? I don't need anybody. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. I don't need a wife. I don't need a husband. I don't need period. And I wanted to address it mostly because I saw it on a Michael Baisden post. And it said, when a woman says, I don't need a man, is she speaking from disappointment or pain? Where is it coming from? Hey, Rachel. And I wanted to address that because I kind of feel like, in my opinion, that it comes from a place of learning to make do when she didn't have. I know for a fact that we are social creatures. We want people around. Life becomes more enjoyable when we have company. We get to share things. We have a witness to our life. We have people that can be around when we experience new things or try new things. We can share those experiences, right? And it becomes more exciting to share when we have a tribe, when we have people around. But a lot of times, for those of us who have been through some tough times, a lot of times we're waiting to hear from somebody, or we're calling to reach out and ask for help. And maybe that person doesn't pick up. Maybe that person isn't available. Maybe they're busy and they say, hey, I'm busy. I got to get back to you later. And in those moments, it's when we find out that actually we are capable of handling it by ourselves. We would just rather not have to do it by ourselves. We would rather not have to feel alone. We would rather not have to, struggle through it on our own. So from that point of view, I feel like when people say that, when they make that blanket statement, I don't need anyone. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. I don't need a girlfriend, a wife, whatever, counterpart you want to talk about. I feel like they're speaking from a place where they've been in that situation where they wanted badly for someone to reach back as they were reaching out, and no one was there. And somehow they found a way through whatever it was that they were facing anyway. I've been through this several times in my lifetime. I know you probably have too. There have been situations where, for me personally, there have been situations. I know one that was really scary to me. There was a time a couple years ago when my daughter felt very sick and she had a fever. She was running a fever for about 2 weeks straight. And in the US, if it gets above 101, you start to panic, right? This little girl hit 103. And I was panicking because my mom wasn't in the country, my brother wasn't around. It was in the middle of the night, I was panicking, and I didn't feel comfortable calling anyone in particular to say, hey, would you mind coming over, or would you mind telling me what to do in the situation, because I'm scared. The only person I could call was my mom, and she was overseas. And the reason being was I did not have the community that I needed at the time, because we were all kind of our relationships were strained. And that's a swinging door. It goes both ways. I could have reached out, or they could have reached out. Both could have happened, but neither did. And I don't know if it was because of my pride or not, but at that time I wasn't reaching out to anyone. I think I was just busy with my own stuff. I'm reading your comment real quick, Rachel. It says community is so important, and she says, how often do we say we don't need a man because we're so in our masculine energy that we're taking up the space he'd occupy? And that's true too. I feel like that is too. And a lot of times it's not because we want to take up that energy. Sometimes it's because we had no choice, so we did what we had to do. We put on the pants in the relationship. We handled whatever we had to handle. So like I was saying, in that situation, right, I was terrified. I wanted someone to help. Now, I had people that were fairly close by. I could have called if I was in a good place in that relationship where I could reach out and they would reach back, then they would know that they would take me seriously. But I wasn't in that space. I hadn't cultivated the relationship that I have now. And at that time, I was afraid. And I realized that, you know what? I can damn sure call a cab by myself. I can definitely take my daughter to the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. I will not fall apart. I will not disintegrate and die. I can handle it. But the truth is, I didn't want to. I was panicking, and I know that she felt that energy too, and she was panicking in her own way. And it got to a point where I couldn't even touch her because her skin hurt so bad. That's how bad the fever was. And when I got to the hospital, all they could tell me was, oh, it's okay, she'll be all right, just keep her cool. Well, duh, obviously. But it was at the point where her body was no longer sweating to relieve the heat. So I was scared. I'd never seen anything like that before. I was terrified. But it's in those moments where I realized, okay, you know what? I am capable. I can handle it by myself. But the truth of the matter was, I didn't want to do it by myself. I wanted people around. So fast forward to where I am now, I have cultivated a lot of relationships, and while they may not be very, very close to me, as in proximity wise, where they can't like hop, skip, and a jump and get to my house, or whatever, I know that I have some people that will drop everything that they're doing and come running if I call for help. So in that regard, with what Michael Basin had posted up, when people say that, I get it. I've been in that space. But you don't have to be in that space either. Yes, you are completely capable of handling both masculine and feminine energy, both masculine and feminine roles. You can handle pretty much anything God throws at you by yourself if you need to. But the fact remains, we're not meant to be silos. We're social creatures. We need a community. It is when we thrive best. When we have a tribe of people that think the same way, behave the same way, act like they could master pretty much anything, and they encourage you to do so as well, that you feel really loved and supported, that you can really expand and take up the kind of space you're supposed to be taking up. I was reading about some things. Sometimes we wonder why people aren't reaching out, and in truth it's because we're masking so well, everything seems good. That's true too. That's another good point that you brought up, Rachel. A lot of people, and I'm guilty as charged, when people ask, how are you? It depends on how close you are in that relationship again, right? If there are people that ask you all the time, they really know, your schedule for the day, and they check in with you every day or through several times throughout the day, yeah, you have no problem telling them, hey, this happened and that happened, but I'm managing, I'm okay. But when it's people you see once in a blue moon, how often do you really open your mouth and say what you're really feeling and feel comfortable or safe doing that? And that's part of the relationship coaching that I give. I want to make sure that you're comfortable in all of your relationships. You should be able to feel safe saying whatever's on your mind, knowing that the other person will receive or at least care about what you're saying. And all of that takes some work, though. All of us have those relationships in our lives where some of them, they ask just for the sake of asking, they move on to the next question before you've had a chance to really answer. Hey, how are you? It's good to see you. Okay, bye. I'll talk to you later. That's pretty much the gist of the whole damn conversation. But those aren't the relationships you want, right? So I'm here to teach you because I want you to have good, solid, foundational relationships where you can be yourself, like completely yourself, as in breathe a sigh of relief and just be. So that you don't have to hide anymore. You can actually tell them the honest truth. And if you need help, you feel safe enough to ask, knowing that they care enough to answer. Whether they can or can't, that's not the question. Whether they're interested in your well-being or not, that is what I want you to be interested in. That is what I want you to care about. So yeah, a lot of us have our moments when we're like, I don't need nobody. I don't need no friends. I don't need no, whatever it is. We get to neck snapping and talking and whatever, but deep down inside that's not the truth. As much as I enjoy being single, I would love to have someone, a significant other, someone to share everything that my daughter does. But for now, I have friends and family that I, one by one send text messages to when she accomplishes something that I think is amazing. But I would love to have someone in the house with me who checks in on me and I check in on them. And I can tell them, look, you know what? Guess what she did today? And it was amazing and I was so proud of her. But until such a time as someone steps up to the plate, I'm good. I know I can handle it by myself. In the meantime, I have this fantastic human being that depends on me, that looks at me with these big, brown, wide eyes and asks me a lot of very irritating questions, but I'm happy to be there with her. I'm happy to be her witness to her life. I'm proud. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And while I am doing it by myself, I've also learned that in a relationship and out of relationships, I need to learn how to share that responsibility too. And I learned a long time ago that I'm not that great at sharing. I like being in control. So while I work on figuring out how to share well, I know whoever he is, my counterpart, wherever they are, is working on their shadow selves too. So that when we do meet, we're ready to really take care of each other. So understand this. When you get ready to come out your mouth and say, I don't need, I want you to really think about what it is you're saying and what it is you actually feel. Are you saying it because you're hurt at that moment? Are you saying it because you're upset because you've been disappointed before? Because yes, the truth is no, you don't need anyone. You have everything within yourself already. You are very, very capable. But where's the fun in that? Where's the love in that? Yeah, it sounds cool to be able to say, I did all that by myself and I did this and I survived that and I was able and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it sounds like a great war story, but wouldn't it mean more to say, you know what? I remember when we saw this happen. And I'm so glad you were by my side because we can laugh about it now, but that was some scary times back then. Now that's what I want. I want true relationships, strong, foundational friendships. That's the kind of people I want in my life. People that I can look back and say, you remember when we did this? And it was, a wild, hair-raising situation, but we made it anyway. And aren't you glad we got closer because of it? It's in those moments that we get closer to the people around us because we shared something together. It doesn't have to be like tragically, scary or anything. It could be just some wild moment where we all looked at each other and were like, what the hell? And then we busted out laughing. It could be a stupid GIF war on Facebook. But because of the GIFs that you decided to put up in response to mine, I know how you think now. And I know a little bit more about you. You shared a little bit about yourself, and I shared a little bit about me too. I want us to be more close-knit. I want us all to really love each other. Oops, sorry about that. But I hope you understand what I mean. So whenever you find yourself getting ready to say something, some blanket statement like, I don't need, this never happens. I want you to think about why you're saying that statement at all. Is it because you're hurting right now? Is it because it's happened one too many times? And what are you going to do about it? Is that really the way you want to live your life? I'm here. Let's talk. And until you're ready, I'll keep putting out these podcasts. So I'll talk to you soon. Good night.